Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni moni wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and so very honored that you are joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends, and please subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher Radio, wherever you find your podcast. We have two magnificent guests for you today. Joni Halabi is going to be here to celebrate Sweet Little You. And later in the show, Mary Beth Perrone will be here to celebrate I Have Superpowers. Before we invite our guests into the studio, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by The Adventures of Harry and Friends, a fantastic 7-book series of picture books by our friend Sarah Tucker. Does your child dream of being a ninja? Harry's first martial arts lesson teaches kids that martial arts isn't about fighting. It's about self-control and focus. Harry's first martial arts lesson and all 7 books in the series entertain children ages 4 to 8 with fun, engaging stories that they can relate to and read over and over again. It also helps them prepare for real-life challenges. You'll love the series. We love it. It's The Adventures of Harry and Friends by our friend Sarah Belisa Tucker. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by My Mom Has 2 Jobs by Michelle Travis. Children start ingraining gender role stereotypes at a very young age, and those societal expectations limit our kids' aspirations. Michelle Travis's picture book, My Mom Has 2 Jobs, gives teachers and parents a powerful tool to fight back by inspiring girls to imagine themselves as doctors, engineers, police officers, lawyers, dentists, firefighters, teachers, military sergeants, veterinarians, pilots, and so much more. At the same time, My Mom Has 2 Jobs celebrates the working moms who support their kids and improve our world every single day. My Mom Has 2 Jobs is beautifully illustrated to embrace diverse moms and kids and to show the wide range of important roles that women play. This is a real important book that should be in your family library. My Mom Has 2 Jobs by Michelle Travis. Joining us right now from Alexandria and the great state of Virginia. Our guest is here today to celebrate Sweet Little You. Please welcome to the show, Joni Halabi. Hey, Joni, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm delighted to have you on Sweet Little You. It sounds like a neat little book.
Thank you. Yeah. The book was inspired really by my daughter. I have a daughter. She turns 4 at the end of this month. And I conceived her using an anonymous donor. So we are a single mom and kid family. And as soon as she was born, I had made the decision I am going to be extremely open about what I call her origin story. So where she came from, how she came to be, and really just address the fact that there is no other partner in this house. It's really just me as a single parent. And we read all the time. We have books literally on almost in every room of our house. So we have a lot of welcome baby books. We have a lot of books about donor conceived children, and I've been reading them to her for years now. But I always kind of felt this lack in the book, especially the welcome baby books, about really addressing the single parent household. So a lot of these books say, like, we welcome you. We are so excited that you're here. Mommy and daddy, or mommy and mommy, like they address the family as a 2-parent unit. Mm-hmm. And there are some really wonderful books that talk about, they're all different kinds of families. But what I was really craving was that welcome baby book where I feel seen and I feel our family feels seen. as this 2-person unit. So I decided to write one, and that's how Sweet Little You was born.
Well, that's wonderful. As I'm sitting here listening, I'm thinking back. My kids are now 26 and 29, and I'm thinking back to when they came into our lives, and it was such a beautiful time, such a wonderful time. It was such a hard time. It was hard work, and
Yes.
we were really fortunate because my beautiful wife and I were together and very supportive of each other, and very intent on sharing responsibilities. And when both kids were born, we lived literally 12 feet away from her parents, lived on the second floor of their house, and about 12 miles away from my mom. And so we had uncles, we had grandparents, and everybody was really involved. And still, it was a lot of work. I can't imagine what it was like bringing a baby into the world by yourself.
Yeah, it is work. That is a very excellent word for it. My parents are very involved, but from a distance. So
your life has gone through some changes. How has your perspective and worldview and how you look at life changed after you became a mom?
Oh gosh, it's like night and day difference. Like becoming a mom definitely humbles you. But I think it also teaches you like this level of patience that even if you were a patient person before, you learn this level of patience on a whole other level because you see your child go through things that you've always taken for granted. Like, okay, well, I put my shoes on, and obviously I don't really think about putting my shoes on. But watching my 3-year-old put her shoes on, it is a process. Mm-hmm. And if you look at it kind of from an outsider, it can be frustrating. Like, oh my goodness, why is it taking you 5 minutes to put your shoes on? And to be honest, like it really is frustrating sometimes. But then you think about it, like I have 40 more years of putting my shoes on than she has. Mm-hmm. It's going to take her a bit longer. And it's just been fascinating, like seeing her learn things that I don't even think about anymore. And like seeing her like see things and learn things for the first time and starting a family. Like, do I need to have that other person in my life to have a child?
We're in this phase now where she
I was in my late 30s when I decided to like, you know what? No, like having a child is the thing that's going to take priority. And then if I find a partner through words, and she's asking me to if it's meant to be. Interesting words, and I'm like, okay, well,
I really wanted to.
Let's take the word sky, for example, going back to the sky.
Have a child.
The S sound is pretty straightforward. The K sound is pretty straightforward. But then we've also been having these discussions. Like I'll ask her, like, what letter makes the K sound? And sometimes she'll say C. I'm like, and then I'll respond like, yes, C does make that sound, but that's not actually how we spell this word because there's another letter that also makes this sound. And then the Y at the end of sky is a whole other conversation. Mm-hmm. Because she hears it, and I can see in her brain, like she is trying to apply logic to the spelling and to like basic grammar as well. And the English language doesn't always follow basic logic. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So sky, if you just hear it, you'd expect it to end with the letter I, and it doesn't. Yeah. Verbs are fascinating because she'll say, okay, well, I play with my toy. Yesterday I played with my toy, and then she'll try to apply it to something like eat. So, okay, I eat an apple. Yesterday I eated an apple. Like, well, I see where you're going there.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the things we've talked a lot about here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast, especially when it comes to kids with dyslexia. And, you know, it's like, does the child have a learning difficulty, or is the language mangled? You know, we have 46, 47 sounds in the English language, and they're represented by 26 letters. There's a problem. There's not enough letters. And like you said, you know, here in the lovely neighborhood of Reedville in Boston, it could certainly be read as Redville. And there's a town not too far away from Reedville called Reading, and it's, almost the same spelling. And I'm wondering if the conversations you're having about the language right now and spelling, I'm sure it's going to help your daughter as she gets older, and she won't kind of run into the problem that, like, a lot of kids with dyslexia, a lot of our experts have thought. It's like these kids are taught, okay, this is the rule, and they want to apply that rule, and then it's, but you don't apply it here. And a lot of kids aren't able to make that connection and make that leap. And so maybe they think of themselves as broken. Maybe you're giving your daughter a real big heads up, letting her know that, your brain is working right. It's the language is broken.
I mean, I hope so. I really do try to emphasize that. And I tell her, like, I see why you think that. I see you. Mm-hmm. But the phrase I use way too much in this house, English is weird.
Yeah.
I use that phrase way too much, but it comes up a lot. And I really hope that she takes that to heart and really does think, like, okay, I'm not doing something wrong, but I also still need to learn that not everything follows this logical progression.
Mm-hmm. Joni, tell us all where we can go to find out more about Sweet Little You and to check out your blog and all that other great stuff coming from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a website. It is jhalabi.com, jhalabi.com. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram, both at Joni Halabi. Those are the social media places I'm most active at.
Awesome. We've had a really fun time talking about Sweet Little You, the debut picture book from our guest, Joni Halabi. Hey, Joni, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
We hope you enjoyed our chat with Joni. Before we invite Mary Beth into the studio, we want to invite you to join us at the Buttonwood Park Zoo on August 6th, 2022. Buttonwood Park Zoo is a beautiful zoo located in New Bedford, Massachusetts. We'll be there to celebrate the release of episode 1500 of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We'll be celebrating with our totally interactive magic show. We'll have local authors there being interviewed for the podcast. We'll have some great crafts activities the kids can get involved in. The parents can get involved too. And we'll also be interviewing some families for future episodes of the podcast. So come on down August 6th, 2022, Buttonwood Park Zoo in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Join us right now from the beautiful city of St. Augustine and Florida. Our guest is here to celebrate her brand new picture book. It's called I Have Superpowers. Please welcome to the show, Mary Beth Perrone. Hey, Mary Beth, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm wonderful. St. Augustine is such a beautiful community.
It really is. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to live. We have the beach and just an amazing community. So, great beach town.
And if I'm not incorrect, St. Augustine is the oldest city in the United States. Am I right?
It is. Good fun fact. Yes, it is the oldest city in the U.S.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So tell us all about I Have Superpowers, please.
So I Have Superpowers is to introduce kids to mindfulness. It's a really great first introduction to teaching kids that they have the power within them to regulate their feelings. Self-regulation is definitely one of the most important skills we could give our children. And I think especially now, as the world's shifting, we've never seen so much anxiety and depression within kids. And I think a lot of it is they don't have the ability to be able to articulate exactly how they're feeling, especially at these younger ages. So if we can teach kids that they can pause and breathe, we can really change the trajectory of how kids are feeling when they start to just feel upset or angry or sad or any of these emotions coming up. So it's amazing tools to start to teach children.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. I was on flipping through Instagram the other day, and I was amazed at how many mental health experts were on my feed with messages, self-care messages, and it seems that the more I don't know if it's the fact that we're more aware that kids are dealing with anxiety, or if there's something going on that's causing kids to be more anxious, but I've never seen so many people advocating for mental health, but at the same time so many people who are really struggling with it.
Yeah, it is. The statistics are very staggering, and I believe this has been a problem going on, and I think COVID kind of amplified it. I think there was a lot of shifts for children and not being able to see their friends. So I think a lot went into it, and I think we're just starting to see the effects. We've started to see them more and more within the past year, but I really think that there's a lot of people in the space in mental health and wellness for adults and teaching them meditation, all these different skills, but it really needs to start at a younger level because, we're not teaching these kids skills early on, and it's really important skills that they need to learn. So that's why I wrote my book, and it's been an amazing, beautiful journey. Mm-hmm. And just hearing kids, there's been teachers that call me and they're like, now, when the kids start to get out of hand, we stop and say, let's try our superpower. And the classroom stops together and they breathe together, and collective breath can really shift the whole energy of a classroom.
Yeah.
Firsthand, it's pretty cool.
That is really, really cool. It's interesting. I'm just in the middle of listening to a podcast talking about the placebo effect. And that they were talking about a study where the doctors actually wasn't the typical study that we hear about, where patients are thinking that they're taking a real medicine, but they're taking a sugar pill. In this study, they actually said to the patients, we're going to give you a placebo. And it still worked. It's incredible, the power of the mind. So not only to heal yourself, but to, as you were saying early on, regulate, deal with your emotions, kind of become the master of what's going on in your circumstances instead of being the victim of your circumstances.
That's right. And it's mind-body connection. I always say I met myself through meditation at 40. I wish I would have met myself sooner, but when we really stop and take that time to become aware, you can see shifts in your life so beautifully. And I mean, just working with these kids, I've gone in and done some mindful stuff within the schools locally down here. And it has been the most beautiful gift. When I wrote this book, it was really out to a wider audience and give it, but seeing it firsthand and seeing kids to really stop and tap into learning this. I'm like, I wish I would have gotten that tool a lot earlier on in my life, because it is really is a placebo effect, and energy is scientifically proven to radiate on to everyone else. So it's wonderful.
It's interesting. You said that you met yourself at the age of 40. Who did you think you were before 40?
I just think I was going so fast and so hard and really never stopping to really tap into like how I was feeling. And I think for sure for a lot of women, you have your careers and your kids and you are taking care of everyone else. And you're not really diving into your own self and your own inner peace. And COVID, I had a very successful business out of New York. I still do for the last 18 years. But I think I spent so much time giving to that and my kids that when COVID hit and the whole world stopped, I was already doing meditation, but I really did a deep dive into it. And I was very amazed of so many things I never processed in my life, and so many, when you sit and you get quiet with yourself, how you see situations differently. It is very powerful, and relationship shift, life shifts. It's very powerful.
Yeah. So what are some of the skills that we're going to be learning as we sit down and read I Have Superpowers with our kids?
So it is an introduction. It's for younger kids, but as they start to feel some sort of emotions, to stop, pause, take a deep breath in, and then take a deep breath out. And when I'm reading it with kids, again, it's take a deep breath in, let's hold it and take it out. And just pausing, we automatically teach our brain to slow down as we change our breath patterns. So it's just a first introduction as you start to feel a little anger, a little upset, that you can change the way you feel. And by these simple techniques, you can do that. The book is based on my little boy, Xander, and my pug, who is definitely can be frustrating. He's a menace that steals everyone's food and is really always underneath you. And so the story walks you through Bandit being an ooey-pooey pug of frustrating Xander and tapping into our breath to learn how to deal with all the situations that come his way. So
Awesome. Now, this isn't something that you just decided, I took a meditation class, and so now I can write a children's book. This is something that's very important to you.
Oh, it's so important to me. I think it's like putting together my purpose and passion. I've always loved kids. I do a ton of volunteer work, and again, when COVID hit and I had some extra time on my hands, I was like, I've always wanted to do this. I'm going to do it, and I did. And the gifts have just given back to me tenfold to get to work with these kids and actually see it firsthand.
Yeah, that's super. For an adult who is sitting down and reading with this book with their kids and realizing, wow, a lot of these techniques are going to be really helpful to me, and I want more. What would you advise them to do?
Mindful Movement FL is my website, and I do a lot of meditation classes, reclaiming your health, reclaiming your power for women. So I do offer a lot of classes myself. But intro to meditation, there's a lot of different apps out there that are great to start with. I have had so many women call me, friends, mothers, saying that they think about my book all the time, and it's changed their life to stop and breathe when they're getting frustrated with their kids. So I think it's a useful tool we can absolutely all use, but there's a lot more to learn. So if anyone wants to learn more, they can certainly visit my website.
Now, I have a niece who's amazing and getting ready to go to college, and sometimes is overwhelmed. And I've suggested to her that she try to meditate, and she always says, "No, I have ADHD, and I can't meditate. I can't sit down," and I don't know what to tell her.
So it's starting small. My daughter, of course, you don't always want to listen to your mom, but she had a very traumatic accident this year and got hurt. And the first thing they say when you go to the hospital is take deep breaths, and she's really gotten into meditation with me, but I hear that all the time. It is the art of doing nothing and just being. And so everyone can do it. So everyone has, these things in their head that like, I don't know how to meditate. I can't meditate. And it's like, of course we can. Like we're always doing, we're never just being. And meditation is just the state of being and becoming aware. So I think definitely, especially at that age, college, again, these gifts, if I could have learned them earlier, but it's just starting slow and it's no pressure. And it's like anything else in life, it takes practice. When my brain goes a mile a minute, I am the, and, always doing 10 things at once. So if I could do it, trust me, anyone can, but it's starting small and no pressure. And I think apps definitely help. A few easy suggestions are doing in the morning before you put on any device, because before our brains even start going, before we have our coffee, that's a great time to start to learn it. And start with 2 minutes, and the 2 minutes becomes 5. Now I can sit for hours and do it. But I mean, this has been a journey of 2.5 years. And when I first started, being in my own head was probably the hardest thing. And now I can easily just quiet myself on a quick move. So it takes practice for sure.
Awesome. Well, remind everybody again, the website they can go to find out more about I Have Superpowers, and also find out more about your other services, please.
It's mindfulmovementfl.com.
Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the author of I Have Superpowers, a great new picture book from our guest, Mary Beth Perrone. Hey, Mary Beth, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Cheryl Johnson. She'll be celebrating my backyard bird book. I've mentioned a few times here on the podcast that our property here in beautiful Reedville borders a wildlife sanctuary, bird sanctuary, and we are just blessed with having so many different creatures roaming and visiting our backyard. It's amazing. We are located here in the city of Boston, but it feels like we're out in the country. It's wonderful. Hey, I tell you what else is wonderful. Our monthly promotion program. If you are an author of a fantastic children's book, you really want to check this out. We can celebrate your book with commercials here on the podcast, with messages to our over 100,000 social media followers, displaying your book on our nationwide network of digital pedestrian billboards, and also have your book on display at whatever live event we will be taking part of in a particular month. In August 2022, we'll be live at the Buttonwood Park Zoo in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Your book can be down there with us on display and giving families a chance to get to know your book, get to know all about you. Learn all about this and more by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, clicking on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page and scrolling on down to Monthly Promotion Program. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Mary Beth Perrone. Please be sure to check out I Have Superpowers. We also want to thank Joni Halabi. Please be sure to check out Sweet Little You. I think my team deserves a big thank you. Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Nicole Bell Castro, Mirabella Q, Rain Pan. Of course, my beautiful wife deserves a huge thank you for all the support she gives me. And you deserve a big thank you, too. You work so hard to support your kids. You spend so much time playing and reading with them and experimenting with them and loving them. And it's a beautiful thing. And you're making the world a better place. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.